Hello, everybody, and welcome to SUPERHOG's Titans podcast series. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by the CEO and founder of Moving Mountains, Mr. Robin Craigen. Robin, how are you?
I'm doing great, Leo. It was great to see you last 2 weeks ago, I guess it was now. Time flies, eh?
Hey, it was a real treat, and it was great because it allowed us both to scratch the itch of talking about sport after one too many beers, which we did. We did with a vengeance.
We did, yeah. You know, I miss that. I don't have anyone I can discuss football with over here. If I say football, they think I'm talking about the Broncos, who are having a good season this year, but you know, it's not the same. They don't even kick the ball with their feet.
And there's less beer breaks in a normal game of football, right? Just 90 minutes, less time to get that drunk.
No, there's actually a considerable, you know, they play for an hour and it takes 4 hours to get the game done. So it's actually the other way around. It's all about the beer and everything else that you can consume during the game while analyzing every play.
I love it. Well, Robin, I have picked a background here to try and make you feel at home. Have I got it right?
I think you nailed it, Leo. And actually, it just gives me a taste of what's coming. We've had our first 2 snowstorms of the winter. At this time of the year, it turns from green to white and then green very quickly again. We're actually going through the blaze of fall colors here, so it's absolutely spectacular right now. But we know winter is coming, and it's actually snow is in the forecast for later this week. So,
oh, wow,
all good signs for ski season. Just 6 weeks.
That is definitely really good news. Now, Robin, I know that you reside in Colorado. Why wouldn't you? What a fabulous place to live. But I know actually deep down you are a Brit and still a proud Brit, I believe.
Very much so. Yeah, I did take the pledge a number of years ago. So this is my. I am an American citizen, but you know you can take the Brit out of the UK, but you can't take everything away from me. I'm still craving those chocolate hobnobs, pies and beer, all in abundance, consumed over the last 2 weeks.
Amazing what we take for granted here. You know, I can walk down the shop and get a chocolate hobnob whenever I want one. So go on.
Or a curry.
Yeah. The best curry in the world.
The best.
Outside of the main curry producing countries, of course.
So I do love to come back to the UK. It does give me sort of twinges. You know, I'm very fond of the country, but I have to tell you, when you see that background behind you, it's really hard for me. I pinch myself many times thinking how lucky I am to get to live here.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, you know, as you've been there that long, and when we met, we spoke about this, you know, your family are American, aren't they? So that's very much home, and that's very much where they've only ever known.
Yeah, I'm fond of saying that no one speaks English in my house. You know, I have to translate everything into this Americanese that rolls off my tongue quite easily now. In fact, it was the first thing that everybody said when I walked back into the office after I've been hanging out with people like you and talking nonstop was, God, you sound so English all over again. But yeah, I'm stuck in between, you know, now.
Amazing. Look, tell the audience all about how you got started in the vacation rental business and all about Moving Mountains.
Sure. So I'm very honored to be on your podcast. Thinking of the title, you know, I still think of our company as growing as fast as it is. I still think of us as a very small business. We started small, and we've grown it beyond all of our expectations. But we literally started this business with one home. And prior to that, the inspiration for that came from the fact that my wife and I ran a luxury 72-foot sailing yacht, a luxury charter yacht in the British Virgin Islands. And so that was one previous paradise that I got to live in. And this idea about offering the kind of experiences that we offered on the yacht in a home setting came from us thinking, you know, we got married, we were thinking about a family, and realized that it'd be very challenging for us to try and pull that off, living and working on a boat as we were back then. So, you know, we didn't want to leave this business where we were helping people have some of the best vacations of their life. That became the drug that we needed every week. You know, if we could hear that from people that had the ability to travel anywhere in the world and have any kind of experiences, and they were turning to us and saying, you guys really made this an amazing week. We just thought how rewarding that was as a kind of a lifestyle business or a lifestyle job as it was back then for us, but could we turn that into a business around which we could have a family and create a new business opportunity for us. So inspired by some guests that had come on the yacht with us, we found our way to Steamboat Springs and then fell in love with this place. Came here in 97, put all of our ideas together. We felt like we had seen a lot of Colorado. We took a long trip through Colorado when we came to Steamboat Springs, and this really felt like home to us. And over the next 6 to 8 months, we put together a business plan, got on the phone with every family member and every friend who had ever said that they'd back us to do something. And we managed to put together a proposal to buy a 6-bedroom chalet about 7 minutes walk from the ski lift on the mountain in Steamboat Springs. And that became the beginnings of Moving Mountains as it is today. And to give you an idea about how small our vision of the business was, the business was called Moving Mountains Chalet. We would move a mountain for you if you came came and stayed with us in our ski chalet. So on the yacht, my wife was a cordon bleu trained chef. I was the captain. We had a first mate. We basically did everything for the guests. And it was really the same concept that you would fly into the Hayden Airport. We'd be there to pick you up. You'd walk into the chalet and you'd smell your dinner being prepared. And we would answer every question and anticipate everything that you would need. And you would, be on vacation from the moment that you arrived. That was the initial concept.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I guess that I suppose you learnt your trade in terms of high-end hospitality on the yachts, right? And then you just transferred that experience into the chalet ski trip experience.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is familiar to people on a yacht. So even down to the first moments where the first instructions you're giving the guest is how to use the bathroom, because that is different to everything else that, you have to pump the head and you have to show people how to be safe and how to kind of get used to life on a yacht. So what we saw were the complexities of a ski vacation. You have to get here. You have to overcome this incredible weather that you see behind you in your backdrop there. You got the challenges of the travel. We could solve that by being there to meet you in a 4-wheel drive Suburban and bring you safely to the chalet. You've got the time involved in shopping and cooking and cleaning up for your whole crew, because it's lovely to travel with friends, but it's basically you're bringing a small army with you, and that army needs to be fed 3 times a day, and they need a million different questions and things arranged for them. So we just saw how we could get in front of that, save the guest vacation time the same way as we just made it fun to be on a yacht, not complicated. So we just translated that into the ski chalet concept, which was the foundation of our business. And, the nice thing was that we had these guests that had sailed with us, and many of them actually were the first clients who came and stayed with us. So to us, it also felt like a really fun way to keep those connections alive. And some of those people we're still in touch with and still come and stay with us. And that's 24 years ago that we started this business.
Wow, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And we touched upon this, I think, when we met. That real handheld service that you give does keep people coming back in general. Remind us again, what's your return guest rate?
I think we feel that that return rate is somewhere between 40 and 60% of our guests.
Amazing.
And that is either people that have stayed with us that return, or they send their friends and their family. I've had many amazing stories of how people came to hear about us. And I'll give you one example, a lady sitting in a nail salon in Arkansas. And, she was talking to a friend about where they were planning their ski trip. She was sitting on the phone, and when she got off the phone, the lady next to her in the chair next to her was there with her daughter and said, "Did you say you were going to go to Steamboat Springs?" And then she said, this lady proceeded to tell me that I had no choice but to call Moving Mountains, and that they were the only people to work with, and they had the most incredible homes. And she said, I pretty much had to give her my credit card, otherwise she wasn't going to stop talking. And she wasn't, she wasn't an employee of your company. But just it just shows how, that maybe that's the benefit of having done this a while, is that network, that word of mouth is kind of spidering out there. But it's been really rewarding, to hear those kind of stories of the personal recommendations that people are given, and then that you really made an impact on your guests.
I mean, that's the key here, isn't it? Is that for anyone who's trying to grow their direct booking channel, making an impact on the guest has to be front and center, because too often going to stay in a vacation rental is like doing a skydive. The person who does it has a great time. You take loads of pictures and you tell your friends to go and do a skydive, but you can never remember the name of the company you did it with.
Right.
And, obviously you built your business up in the 90s before you could, fall into the trap of thinking you could rely on distribution channels. So, I guess that's always been at the core of what you were doing.
I do feel like that is a bit of a catch that people have fallen into in the world that we now live in, that everyone wants to get there really quickly. And, maybe I could say we have the advantage that we did this very slowly, very organically, one home at a time, added to our management portfolio, and one staff member at a time. We've gone through every step of evolution in growing our business. Now today, like I said, we started with one home. Now we manage 200 homes in 4 resorts. And I believe our winter staffing for this current winter season is going to exceed 100 people. So, there's no comparison to how we got there. And we didn't get there in a couple of years. It was slow and methodical, and we made mistakes and we learned from them, and we kind of realized what our superpowers were and what our kryptonite was as well. And for us, fortunately, I think, discovering that where we were the most successful was this high touch level of services that allowed us to focus on that rather than getting into the unit business and, trying to scoop up as many properties as we could. And our greatest fear in growing our business was always that we didn't want to dilute the experience. We wanted to be sure that, that today we're as good as we were, 10 years ago and 20 years ago.
I love your mission, and it really comes across whenever I speak to you, and it clearly comes across in the portfolio and the services that you offer. With that in mind, you took the step to acquire Paragon lodgings recently. I assume that was a really carefully put together deal to, not wanting to dilute what you've done.
Right, you're absolutely right, Leo. I mean, that was a conversation that began. I think we met the owners of Paragon Lodging as far back as 7 years. And, it's like kindred spirits within this industry. You tend to latch on to the people that speak the same language that you do. And we became fast friends with the 2 ladies that founded that business 21 years ago. And we often talked about the similarities between our businesses. We certainly had home envy looking at their beautiful portfolio of homes. And, what prompted that move, I'll go back to, again, it's coming very organically, maybe not even from us saying, hey, our ambition is to be X, Y, Z, but it's really listening to our guests saying, the reason we come back to Steamboat is because of you guys. We come back because we can't get this experience that you offer anywhere else. And, the second part of that is they would say, we love to ski other places. If you were in Vail or Beaver Creek or Breckenridge or somewhere like that, we'd follow you. So we expanded, we did a small acquisition and expanded into the Vail Valley, covering Beaver Creek and Vail in 2019. Not perfect timing given the pandemic that followed, but we've made it through that. Learned a lot from that. It's a different animal running a company in 2 resorts, 2 operational areas. And so in a way, it just feels like perfect timing for us that the owners of Paragon Lodging, when you've been in the business 20 years, it's not a forever thing. Nobody can do this until they're 90, although I might still be doing it when I'm 90. But, they were looking for someone who would take care of their baby. And I really feel like, that's a lot how we feel about our business. It's very carefully put together. It's not like we would want to just sell out to the big companies that are out there just hoovering up, properties and portfolios of homes and turning it into something else. It really is important to us, and it really was important to those owners that we could work together and take it to the next level. And that's what that deal is all about.
Amazing. And I love to hear that, because again, that really high touch level of hospitality that you offer is so important. And, having that repeat guest flow means that if you've added 50, 60, 70 listings to your portfolio, they need to hit that same, standard bar. And also you need to be able to service them in the same way. What do you think are the key sort of must-haves if you're trying to cater to a high-end ski guest?
Well, I would say first and foremost, I mean, you need the homes. Let's take that for granted and say that if you don't have the homes, which is not something you can just go and pick off the shelf, but you cannot do this without a great team, and you cannot do this without a team of staff that really understand what the mission of the business is. Our mission is to create a memorable vacation in an exceptional home. So everything has to tie back to that. And we're all here to do different jobs, but if we didn't do our jobs 110%, then, we don't achieve that high level of success, those 5-star reviews, those 9s and 10s on the guest surveys, so everyone has to kind of buy into that. And I really feel like we're a team that's 24 years in the making, that we've had to be, it's very hard to scale a business like this because the qualification for many jobs in a mountain town is a heartbeat and still breathing. But, for our company, you really need to be, you kind of need to be the best at what you do in this business. We need the best housekeepers. We need maintenance guys who can think on their feet. We need operations people that are good in front of guests, that can meet the guest and show them in, check them into a house and make them feel welcome, a balance of knowledge of the home and that kind of warm, welcoming feel that we like to give when a vacation starts. You need to be, our accounting team, they're the unsung heroes behind the scenes, making sure that everything, the owners get paid on time, bills get paid on time. Every piece of your business needs to run as efficiently as possible. And I don't want to tell you, it doesn't take a lot of effort. People would look at us and say, it really looks like you've got your business dialed in. And I often throw out that example of, you see the duck gliding across the pond and it's got a nice little bow wake and he's looking all composed and looking around, but you do not see what is going on below the surface, how hard that duck is pushing to make himself go through the water that fast. And, that's us. That's us in so many ways. We're working hard here.
I think that's fantastic. I like that. I like that as a thought. When I was a student, I used to wait tables, and it didn't matter what was going on in the kitchen, how much shouting and swearing was going on. As long as the food looked good on the plates when it was in front of the customer, that was kind of all that mattered. And I do think you're right. I think a lot of work and a lot of building and growing a business in our industry is about that. It's making sure that hospitality is at the core of what you do. And that means that there's always a smile, there's always a friendly voice on the phone, and there's always the towels delivered on time, as and when you said they would be delivered.
Right. I mean, it's, we're living in a world that's kind of moving faster and faster. And I think that occasionally you need to, people really appreciate when you slow down and take the time to make a personal connection. And that is actually something that stands out. So counter to, I think, a new breed of manager that is out there and perhaps in a different sector of the market that, checking your guest in by sending them the access codes and saying, here's a number, call me if you have any problems, is kind of the opposite direction. That's a very white label experience that anyone can provide. It's somewhat commoditized, and I think it certainly fits a certain price point. We all know that there are budget hotels and there are mid-price hotels and then there are luxury hotels, and those experiences are all very different and cater to different parts of the market. So for us, what works is we have a clientele that wants that better experience. They want those extra touches, and it's on us, to make sure that we cover all the bases. But you can't do that. To do that at scale is really challenging. It's I think that's something that we're learning right now, as I feel like, between Steamboat Springs and Vail and Beaver Creek and Breckenridge, we're about 100 miles circle. And I still consider that is within our range to provide a locally, authentically local experience. We have teams in each of those areas. They are in charge of their day-to-day operations. We're now developing kind of an overlay of marketing and reservations and system support. but I'm really wondering just how far we can go to keep growing in this direction. And it's kind of steering me towards, I've heard a lot of talk lately about how the franchise model could be the way. And I'm really starting to think that, that could be the secret sauce that kind of comes back to what makes our industry great. What makes this so successful is the passion that comes from the individual teams that welcome their guests each week, that prepare those homes and take care of them for those owners. And, everything on a kind of a very hyper local level. And where those local teams are struggling is the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, how you do distribution, how you do your marketing, your reservations and your accounting and things like that. I think some of those things obviously scale, and those don't require personal touches. They require systems and efficiency and good tech. But at the local level, when I look at how the big companies are faring on their mission to kind of own the marketplace, I don't think it's a sign of success right now. Not the way I read it, because I don't hear people raving about the service. They might say that it's cheap, but it's kind of a business where you get what you pay for. And I don't think that cheap at the guest experience end of things is where we want to be.
I completely agree with you, Robin. And I think that it's so interesting what you say, because that theme comes out time and time again, is this idea that service delivery is a local game. You touched on it again earlier as well in the interview, when you said, we're looking for the best in class in that local town for everything. And that's generally how we hire, and that's how we power our business. And that is what makes that person go the extra mile, right? It's being the best at their craft and making sure that your guests get the best experience. And that leads us to where we started the conversation, which is direct distribution, word of mouth, returning guests.
Exactly. I mean, it's you're trying to scale a very personal experience. And so I think you want to remember that, we can't clone each other. We can't just, I can't make 100 of me in order to multiply our business by 100. I have to find other people in other locations who feel the same way that we do. And could see that maybe under a brand. There's very few brands in the marketplace right now. I think that could be an enormous advantage as we do grow, if we do go down this path. I think that you're solving one set of problems, but you're not losing sight of the, if you do scale by franchising, you're keeping the local superpower intact. You're keeping the local team intact that delivered that service. And, we operate locally. I always think it's kind of like, we're like a band of brothers, we're solving these day-to-day challenges together, and we high five together on our successes. And, you don't want to try and dilute that down, getting into thousands of units. And, it just sounds so commoditized when you start to scale it up.
I love that, Robin. You happy few, you band of brothers.
Yes.
Tell me, we've had a heck of a time the last 18 months, 2 years. Fingers crossed now it looks like we're coming out of it in many ways. How's it changed the high-end ski industry? Has it changed the high-end ski industry?
Yeah, I was at a conference in Charleston a couple of months back now, and the best way to describe what I think we've seen, I think we have been very fortunate to be, number one, I'll say, to be in the US, where nobody can tell you what to do. So Americans, for a large part, carried on doing what they were. It's been one giant social experiment to see how the American model compares to the British model. But if we were in Europe, I think we would have really struggled to stay in business, because shutting down the ski industry was just not an option. It would have been the end of our community. Businesses struggled as it was. It was I would say more than anything else, it was a very stressful time because of the unknowns. You really felt like that you went from one month to the other, really not knowing what to expect. We had case numbers going down and everyone started relaxing. You had case numbers surging, and there was talk about the ski mountain closing down or restrictions on lodging or occupancy and things like that. It was a very, very tough time. But, thankfully, here we are with the numerous vaccines available. And I think that has changed the mood in the camp now, because there's just this huge surge of pent-up demand. We're seeing reservations demand like we've never seen before. We've had our biggest summer that we've ever seen, and we're looking at our biggest winter, and almost we're creating another set of problems for ourselves. There's certainly a lot of pushback from our community right now about over-tourism, the pressure on the cost of living, the cost of housing. The challenge for us is going to be finding more staff to keep up with the demands and retaining those staff, because we're all competing with each other now for the same talent pool. So there's always a challenge in this business. We're problem solving from one day to the next.
Yeah, and the worst days are never as bad as you think, and the good days are never as good as you think, because there's always a new challenge over the hill, isn't there? Robin, it's so good talking to you. I love our chats. Tell me, when you're not working and you're trying to relax, what are you doing? I know you've got a family, that must play a part, but yeah, how do you switch off from moving mountains?
Yeah, family plays a big part. Obviously, it's exciting. I have teenagers now. I know you're at the beginning of this sliding scale of other things to do in your free time, and having young kids is super exciting, and that's a whole adventure. But mine are teenagers getting ready to go out into the world. My daughter is at college, and my son is in high school, and so keeping up with them is definitely important to both myself and Heather. But then, I can definitely tell you that snowboarding in waist deep powder is like a drug. I'm sorry, but I'm addicted. And I do live in one of the greatest places on earth to do this. And the beauty of being here is, people would say, or people would imagine that perhaps we go ski every day. I'll tell you, I go ski on the best days of the season. I probably get 20 to 30 days a year when I'm out there. I'm very happy to go out for 2 to 3 hours and get some of the best skiing on the planet. So that's winter, passion for just snowboarding in the deep powder, and just getting outside. I mean, we bike outside in the winter here. We live in the craziest town of very athletic, healthy people. And then that extends into the summer, mountain biking, road biking, and then my new passion of gravel biking, because we have so many great gravel roads around here. So I'm a big time cyclist.
Wow, that's great. I'm quite jealous. I'm outdoorsy myself, but London streets are not as exciting. What's gravel biking? Is it sort of ski runs that are turned into gravel in the summer?
So the beauty of the Yampa Valley where we are is that we have a tremendous ranching heritage here. And so we have many roads that connect these ranches that are not paved, and many of them not passable in the winter. So four-wheel drive is kind of a way of life. And, these are the back roads around our valley that have no traffic on them. So a gravel bike is essentially a road bike that's built to accommodate a thicker, fatter tire, not quite a mountain bike tire. It's somewhere in between. It's just a way of basically road biking on dirt. They're, built for it. And then the other beautiful thing is disc brakes. So that makes just handling the bike a lot easier. I would say my number one is still mountain biking, but gravel biking is turning into a close second, because it's just another way of discovering a place. I've lived for over 20 years, and I'm seeing it from a completely different angle. It's really, really exciting from that perspective.
I love it. I'm very jealous, but I hope that someone out there listening will decide to put a vacation rental conference in Colorado next year, and then I can come and stay with you guys and have. I
actually think it would be the perfect place for the SUPERHOG company retreat. Just putting it out there.
Okay, I'll put that in the suggestion box, and here's to hoping.
Good luck with that.
We've totally run out of time. I wanted to ask you a load of frivolous either-or questions. I'm going to just ask you one either-or question, because this is so important. I know you're a Broncos fan. I think, if I remember rightly, you are a Chelsea fan.
You want me to go there?
No one's perfect. American football or football? Which is it?
I'm a big American football fan, just because that's all we can see here. I do a look occasionally. I'm the long-suffering England fan who has tuned in to watch them lose in the quarterfinals or the semifinals more years than I care to think about. So, but I'm still attached to that, but I just don't have the bandwidth. So yeah, American football all the way. Broncos are on a 3-0 win streak right now, so this year it's a good year to be a Broncos fan.
Amazing. Well, I'll keep a special eye out on the Broncos now, and that's another reason for me to come and see you, so you can take me to a game, because I hear the atmosphere is pretty good.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, the noise is incredible. Frequently over 100 decibels. They actually built the stadium to make noise. So it's built on a metal frame. And when there's a big defense play going on, you make so much noise that the opposing team can't hear the instructions. They're yelling to each other. And that's called a fan assist.
Wow, that's so cool. So you actually directly influence the play. That's very cool.
Yeah, just like you and I, are helping our English soccer teams through their day-to-day in our discussions late at night over a beer.
Robin, you're a gentleman. It's so lovely to speak to you again. Thanks for joining us on the pod.
Thanks.